Hello, welcome back to Friday Afternoon Catholic. Even though today is Monday, I thought I'd do a little video based on the occurrences of this morning in Rome when two gentlemen went into a church in Rome and removed a number of pagan idols from the Catholic Church. This is all tied in with the Amazon Synod, which was my last video several weeks ago. At the time that I shot that video, I guess I didn't anticipate that probably the foremost issue that we would be dealing with out of the Amazon Synod would be pagan idol worship, or the appearance of pagan idol worship. As it turns out, that the day before the Synod officially opened, there was a tree planting ceremony in the Vatican Gardens attended by Pope Francis. And the people that wanted to plant the tree and meet the Pope were people that were, I think, going to participate in the Amazon Synod as indigenous people. And what they did is they brought a lot of their symbolism into the Vatican Garden that day, including at least one or two carved wooden images that would be extremely in opposition to what the Catholic Church has always believed for 2,000 years, one of which is a symbol called the Pachamama, which is the Incan goddess of the earth, I think, or the Incan goddess of fertility, Mother Earth, basically, to the people that were in the pantheistic religion of the Incas centuries ago. And so this Pachamama is a nude woman that is kind of sitting on her haunches, and you can see into her womb to see that she is apparently pregnant. And so that's why it's kind of this image of fertility, and the goddess of Mother Earth is what they also call her. Certainly not the Virgin Mary, and actually there was a lot of confusion right after that because a lot of people were saying, what was that image? And we had some different explanations coming out of the Vatican and various apologists for the Amazon Synod, such as Austin Ivray, who I mentioned in my last video, completely untrustworthy, who said, I think that's a symbol of the Virgin Mary. And then we learned it's not, and the Vatican actually came out later and said it's not, a symbol of the Virgin Mary. It is something else. But the Vatican really still wasn't clear as to what it actually is. So in any event, this symbol of Pachamama has been showing up over and over again over the course of the last week, and now we're a week into the 2-week period of the Amazon Synod. And this symbol has been paraded up to the altar in Catholic churches. It has been held up for reverence to people attending the Amazon Synod. And then it was a number of these symbols were left in a Catholic church for several days in front of various side altars, I think, in this church in Rome. I think it's St. Maria Transpontina is the name of the church. In any event, early in the morning on October 21st, two very brave and courageous, faithful individuals, don't know if they're Catholic or not, but you got to assume they are because they went into the Catholic Church to remove these pagan idols, went into the Transpontina Church and took I think 5 of these wooden carved idols out of the church. Thanks be to God. They then walked over to a bridge over the Tiber River, and this is a bridge that has a lot of historical significance to it. It is actually lined by angels. It's a very beautiful bridge going over the Tiber River, and then they tossed these symbols into the river. Now, a lot of people are going to say they shouldn't have done that because they took something that wasn't theirs and they destroyed it, maybe even littered with it. But in reality, I think that this is a courageous and good move on the part of these individuals because it is something that needed to be done. No bishop should have ever allowed these images to be brought into the Vatican. They certainly should not have allowed these images to be paraded around in Catholic churches, and they should never have allowed these images to be placed in a Catholic church for several days at a time, right in front of altars. So the Pachamama, this Mother Earth symbol of fertility of the Incans, which again, the Incans believed in a whole number of gods. They were a very pagan society, had no semblance of Christianity at all in them whatsoever. This is a god that was worshipped by an ancient civilization. And so if we allow a symbol like this to become something that, oh yeah, the church can accept this, then we would accept Zeus, we would accept Atlantis, we would accept Buddha, we would accept all these other non-Christian gods or figures, and we've never done that. We can't do that. In fact, there is a large church in the center of Rome that used to be a pagan temple called the Pantheon. And if you go to that church, you will find that it is one of the oldest Catholic churches in Rome, because shortly after the legalization of Christianity by Constantine in the 4th century, the church went to this pagan temple and Christianized it. And so if you go in there now, there is a Catholic altar, and they have Catholic Mass in here, and there's Catholic statues of saints, and it is no longer a pagan temple. All signs of paganism have been cleansed from that temple, and now it's a Catholic church. I think it's called Saint Mary and the Angels. I should look into that. I've been there several times. I can't remember the name of it because it's commonly known as the Pantheon, but it's basically now a church which calls us to remember all of the saints and angels in the Christian church and to completely forget its pagan founding. And that's happened over the centuries in a number of churches in specifically in Italy. They started out as Roman pagan temples, and then as Christianity spread, the pagans weren't around to maintain these buildings anymore, so they were consecrated as Catholic churches. There's churches like that all over Rome. There's churches like that. There's one in Assisi that I know of. And so this is not an uncommon thing. The uncommon thing is to reintroduce pagan idols back into Catholic churches. So that has really kind of been the most publicized part of the Amazon Synod, is this crazy attempt to paganize the Catholic Church, basically, through just a really, really lazy and ill-advised approach by those who are running the Amazon Synod. Now, the other thing that we found out here recently, and in my last video I talked about this a little bit, was you need to know where the money is coming from in order to find out what the real intent of some of these activities are within the church. And, is the money coming from Germany, which is basically lost the Catholic faith? And again, Cardinal Mueller and Cardinal Brandmueller are very faithful and very reliable cardinals in Germany, but there's so many of the other type that anything coming out of Germany has to be treated with a lot of caution and suspect at this point. But we've found out recently that maybe even more money is coming into the Synod from charities which champion things like abortion, contraception, LGBT advocacy, and the kind of the parent foundation for this is the Ford Foundation. The Ford Foundation is so aggressive about their pursuit of things like abortion and contraception that Cecile Richards actually serves on its board and has for years. Now, Cecile Richards, you might remember, is the former president of Planned Parenthood here in the United States. Now, I will suggest that if the president of Planned Parenthood is on your board, you are extremely interested and supportive of abortion. Well, it turns out that millions of dollars from the Ford Foundation has been sent down to South America over the past several years to charities down there, which are apparently Catholic charities. And I think one of them is CELAM, CELAM, which is one of the main organizers of the Amazon Synod. And so, we have this apparent attempt by Planned Parenthood, the culture of death, through the Ford Foundation to influence things going on in the Amazon basin. And now they've packed this up and taken it over to the Vatican and dressed it up so that it is some sort of a ecological summit to save the climate. Well, in reality, it really appears that this is a two-pronged effort to wound the Catholic Church and to undermine authentic Catholic teaching. And so the two-pronged effort is through paganism and through the culture of death. And there's this liberation theology that's also very strong in some of the things they're talking about at the Amazon Synod, and it's all just really, really disturbing. So when I cautioned you several weeks ago to pay attention to what's going on at the Amazon Synod, I would double that caution now. We should know what's going on. We should be very vocal about it, very concerned. And I, for one, am proud of the two gentlemen who have put themselves out there by removing the pagan idols from the Catholic Church in Rome. And on the flip side of that, I would call out the bishops that have been allowing this to courageously preach the gospel instead of introducing pagan idol worship into the synods and into our Catholic churches. It appears to me, after reading and watching various videos and things such as that about the Amazon Synod, that this is really an effort to cover for really poor catechesis and evangelization over the last 50 to 100 years in South America, specifically in and among the indigenous people. And so what some of these people now are basically, they're throwing in the towel, I think. They're saying, we've failed, we have not been able to evangelize and catechize these people to the point where they have embraced the faith, to where they are providing their own vocations to the extent that we think is necessary. And so let's even water down the faith more. Let us not only meet them where they're at, but become what they are in order to somehow become more popular with them. Well, I'm sorry, but that's never the way the Catholic Church has worked. That's never the way Christianity has worked and been successful. Christianity is and has always been a very countercultural approach to evangelization. Through the words and actions of Catholics over the centuries, billions and billions of people, and almost every civilization on the face of the earth has been successfully evangelized at some point. Now, we've seen a huge erosion in that over the past 100 years. Especially in the Northern Hemisphere. But that doesn't mean that that process or that approach is wrong or is worn out. It has proven itself over the centuries. What is worn out is the effort to water down the faith, to dumb it down, to take the beauty out of it, to take the challenge out of it. The gospel is not an easy message. And when you try to make it an easy message, it backfires on you, and you lose the faithful that you already have, and you don't get the new faithful to come in.